Hey, Mike.
Hi, Heather. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. Hello, audience.
Hi.
Nice to see you again. It's been a long time since the last live stream, so thank you for returning.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions you would like Mike to answer, please put that in the chat. We'll be answering those questions and doing trivia today.
Yes, so
What trivia are we doing?
we are doing Three's Company trivia in honor of Suzanne Summers, who passed about a week ago. And I wanted to share some pictures from my trip to Europe, which I went to since my last live stream. In fact, why don't we do that now? Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So I click,
Present
okay,
and then
share
click the
screen.
screen. Yep, exactly. So
Um,
get your questions in there while we're doing this.
let's
And
see.
also tell us, what are you doing for Halloween? Put that in the chat. There we
Um,
go. I got it.
okay. Okay. Do you see a picture of me?
No, you have to pick the other screen.
Okay. It's not a matter of the other screen, but I picked a picture in that menu.
Okay, let's try it one more time. Because I think you have to have the picture open when you click the, there you go.
Now, what do you see?
Nothing at the moment. So do present and then click the picture.
Okay.
So while we're waiting, Baccarat Kingmaker says, salute to you, the
Thank you.
best of the best leaders of the program.
Oh, by the way, Heather, you look fantastic. Do you want
Oh,
to
thank you.
explain who you are? And I apologize that I did not dress up for Halloween.
Oh, you're good. So for honor of Halloween, I dressed up as a red shirt Star Trek. So I will be dead before the end of the live stream. Um,
So I thought that wearing a red shirt meant that you were in some sort of leadership role.
yes, but it also means that you're going to die before the episode ends.
So is that just a coincidence or did the writers intend it that way?
I think at first it was a coincidence, and then once the meme started, once the audience started noticing that, then they ran with it.
Okay. So, okay, let me try to get through these pictures quickly.
Okay,
So,
we see the pictures. We got them.
okay, so me, Mrs. Wizard, and two friends did a 10-day cruise of the Western Mediterranean. And I also stayed in a seaside city called Calafell in Spain before the cruise. And I spent some more time in Barcelona after the cruise. And then we went to Ibiza and then went home. So you're going to see every picture is from mostly Spain, France, and Italy, but I also went to Monte Carlo, or should I say Monaco, as well as the Vatican. So this is the Boccheria. This is a famous outdoor market well, I guess it's semi-outdoors. It does have a roof, but no like walls in Barcelona, and you can't miss it if you go there. And yeah, it's very busy, full of people selling, all kinds of meat and fruit, vegetables, that kind of stuff. Okay, so just about anywhere in Europe you go, I really like these city squares that they have, and I don't remember the name of this one, but it's in Barcelona, and that this particular day there happened to be a lot of collectors of mainly coins and stamps with selling stuff. So as a collector myself, I love this, and I'm not terribly active with coins and stamps right now, but I always just have an interest in people that collect things. Okay, so this was near my hotel in Barcelona, and this was a sculpture of a cat by that artist that likes to draw paintings of people and kids and animals with like the kind of like fat faces and bodies. And this is his sculpture of a cat. Okay, now I happened to notice in this crowd of pigeons in Barcelona that there were some, what I'm pretty sure are green cheek conures. So this was the kind of parrot that we had earlier. You may remember Pickle from some earlier live streams. And here they were just, out there in the wild. And a woman in my hotel said that they escaped from the zoo and just had started to multiply. Okay, so this is the Familia Sagrada. This is like an enormous, like very fancy, uh, I don't want to say church, I guess I'll say a cathedral in Barcelona that has been under construction for like almost 200 years, and it's still only like 60% done. So it's a monumental effort, and I could show you tons of great pictures of it. But what in particular interests me about this one is if you look like directly above my head, you see a magic square. And every row, column, and diagonal in that magic square adds to 33, which is how old Jesus was at the time he died. So like one for every year of his life. And the statue, by the way, is Judas betraying Jesus with a kiss. And here's looking at the Familia Sagrada from further away. This is another like must-see thing in Barcelona. Get your tickets before you go, like before you even get to Europe if you go there, because everyone else wants to go there too. And it doesn't really look like this. This was like done with that camera mode where you scroll and it kind of makes it look shorter and than it really is. Okay, here's more of a realistic picture of the Familia Sagrada. This is the subway system there in Barcelona. Okay, so I challenged this clown here in front of this older church to a sword fight, which you can see. Okay, this is another building in Barcelona.
Wait, stop. Who won the sword fight?
Me.
Oh, yes.
I thought this clown was not like fully getting into it. Now you might argue she had to hold all these heart-shaped balloons, but I get the impression that, stupid American tourists didn't challenge her to sword fights every day.
That's
fantastic. I definitely got into it. But you can, so in fencing, what you see right here is a double touch where we both, stabbed each other.
I love it. I think that's great.
Okay, so this is yet another building in Barcelona, and the city like held a competition for who to do a mural for this building. And if I understand the story right, Picasso submitted this drawing, but he thought that they wouldn't pick him if he submitted it under his own name, because they probably would have thought, oh, Picasso, he's famous enough already. Let's give somebody else a chance. So he did this art under like somebody else's name and it won. And he didn't reveal that it was really Picasso until after they already finished it. Okay, for those who don't know, I'm an avid license plate collector. Unfortunately, there were no license plates at that collector's meeting that I showed you earlier, but this is a license plate from Andorra, one of the two micro countries of Europe. So that made my day to see that. Okay, this is I borrowed a bicycle from the hotel and rode it north, and I went through the city of Cunit. And this is me carefully standing in front of the eye.
Oh, good. So you knew what you were doing.
I knew what I was doing.
Okay, good.
And there were some other men there doing the same thing. Anyway, glad you have a sense of humor about it. Okay, now we're on the cruise ship, and they had like a special party on the helicopter landing strip. And I spent most of my time doing magic tricks for the staff. Okay, so they openly allowed photography in the casino on the cruise ship. So this is me and Mrs. Wizard and a friend. And so there was a blackjack tournament, and guess who won? Yours truly. And that is the gentleman who ran the cruise. I mean, not the cruise, the blackjack tournament. Okay, so now here I am in, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but Ajaccio, which is the biggest city on the island of Corsica in France. And this is how I can often be seen looking at a map when you see me in Europe. But very beautiful city. I'd be happy to return. Okay, this is, I believe, the house where Napoleon was born, that they turned into a museum about Napoleon. And to be honest, I'm not sure didn't know which door to use, so I used two. This is the church where Napoleon was baptized. And in this small town, there was all kinds of Napoleon stuff. Here's me with a statue of Napoleon. This is another statue of Napoleon with the 4 lions. Here's Napoleon with his 4 brothers. This is, I think, the inside of the church where Napoleon was baptized. And here I am disgracing it with my bathing suit. Here's my cruise ship. This is just like some typical street in Corsica. Or maybe it wasn't in Corsica. No. This, I think, was in Florence. This, I believe, is the home site where Columbus was born. The home no longer stands there, but except for, I guess, this well. And this is some famous cathedral in Florence whose name I forget. This is the what's it called? The Arno River that goes through Florence. Here I am in the Arno again. And this is yet some other church in Florence. I don't even remember where this is. This is like some catacombs underneath a church in Naples. So a lot of churches in Europe, a lot of the old ones, would bury people underneath it and charge a lot of money for it. And I think it was not uncommon that they would say that if someone paid for this service, that they would, shall we say, make sure that they got to heaven. And if you really paid a lot of money, they put your skull like in this wall here where there's a painting of they would like paint your body and then put your skull so people could come down and see you. And it may sound kind of grotesque, but that was the order of the day.
Well,
all right, now jumping around. Here I am in Ibiza, Spain. I love Ibiza. And just about anywhere you go in Europe, if it's high up, there's probably some fortress. And this was the fortress in Ibiza. And here I am walking up to it. And this was my balcony in Ibiza with a beautiful view of the Mediterranean. And these figures that you see here, if my geometry is right, are called truncated tetrahedrons. And this is again in Ibiza. And I love this car here. It was just parked on the side of the road. I think it's a Citroen, but I'm not sure. And here I am back in the fortress in Ibiza. Still at the fortress. So I walked all this way, probably like 2 hours to get to this casino in Ibiza, and it was closed. It didn't open until, I think, 6 p.m. And I don't even remember where this is. This is Marseille. I can't say that Marseille is my favorite city in Europe, to be honest with you. I found it to be kind of dirty and anyway, but you make the best of it. And I believe this is still in Marseille. The Pope happened to be visiting the same day I was in Marseille. And this was like the only thing that I could see welcoming him, compared to that I was in Mexico City just after the Pope was there. And there was Pope stuff everywhere in Mexico City. Okay, Marseille. I think that's somewhere in Marseille. This is Monaco. And there's always fancy cars there parked in front of the casino. And this is some statues in Monaco. I think that's Naples. You could tell from the flag that's somewhere in Italy, but to be honest, I don't remember where. Probably Florence. You can tell from the flag here, this is Spain. probably some government building, because you don't see many flags of Spain in Barcelona because they have a very separatist attitude. And I think that like only if it's like a really official government building will you see the flag of Spain. Meanwhile, you'll see like 100 flags for Catalonia for every one flag you see of Spain. Okay, here we are in Nice, which was celebrating hosting the World Cup. And this is outside the main train station in Nice. This should need no explanation. This was in Rome. I forgot the name of this building. I didn't have enough time in Rome to see a lot of the stuff, like the Colosseum and the Spanish Steps and the Tivoli Fountain. But this was some famous building on my map, the Spanish something or other, but I forgot the details. This was kind of like a tour guide I met there. This was a statue. This is in the like the tour of the Vatican. And these were like I don't know what, this was like some steps that made like many, many circles. This is a typical license plate of the Vatican. Of course I went nuts when I saw this. Hopefully I procured one in my lifetime, but the Vatican is the hardest country in the world to get a license plate from. This is outside the library of the Vatican, I believe. So here I am somewhere in the Sistine Chapel. And this is the map room leading up to the Sistine Chapel. Oh, so here is the Sistine Chapel. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but like directly above my head, you can see that famous panel of the ceiling where God is touching Adam. And it should be noted that this ceiling was completely redone. And some might argue that it was so redone, it's like not even the original thing anymore. But nevertheless, they did a fantastic job on the restoration. And here I am outside St. Peter's Basilica, and that's it. So there it was, the rushed version of my trip to Europe.
That's really awesome.
Thanks.
So is the reason why the Vatican is so hard to get a license plate from, is that because there's not too many people that like move there to get driver's license registration and all that? Or
yeah, there's probably only maybe 50 cars that are registered to the Vatican. Not many people actually live there. Certainly the Pope and probably like his close staff. But I would imagine a lot of the people that work at the Vatican probably live somewhere in Rome. So, and they keep very, very tight control of their license plates. And I have a friend who's a priest, and he told me in advance that he was going to the Vatican. And I said, please, please, please get me a Vatican license plate. And he tried his best, but he just said, Mike, I didn't even come close. They will not even entertain the topic of selling a license plate. So, what can I say? But it's good to have goals.
maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Well, if you guys are watching this and you know how to get one of those license plates and you want to give Mike a Christmas or a birthday present,
It would certainly be a good gift, but I should state that, don't use a screwdriver to get it. I'm a very ethical person. And, when I went there, I came with plenty of cash, hoping to maybe make a deal with a cab driver, but the cabs there have Italian license plates. So, I only saw 4 cars there, despite it being there for hours, with Vatican license plates. And 3 of them looked like pretty nice cars that they probably used for VIPs. And the other looked like kind of like a maintenance car. Okay. So I know we only have so much time. So,
well, we got a question about the cruise.
Okay.
So your cruise, the update that you mentioned last week for your tournament formula, could you explain how you applied this to a tournament?
Sure. So, I wrote about this in detail in my last newsletter. No, it was 2 newsletters ago. And the first stage of this tournament was everybody got to play a short sitting, which consisted of 7 hands, and you started with $500, and and then the and then they recorded everyone's score at the end of these 7 hands, and then the top 7 people, the top 7 scores after I believe 5 rounds, got to advance to the final table. So, what goal should you strive to get to be in the top 7? So here's how the formula works. So how many people would get to play? There were 5 sittings and 7 spots, so that's 35 people. Then you divide that number by the number of spots that they're going to let people advance. So 35 divided by 7, and you're back at 5. Then you take the square root of that number 5, and you get 2.236. Then you multiply that by your starting number of chips, which in this case was 500, and you get 1,118. So that was basically my winning goal. And they don't have chips like an 18. The smallest denomination was 25. But based on my previous experience, I tend to think that your goal does not need to be as high as that formula suggests. And especially on a cruise ship where probably very few people are skilled at tournaments, I was a little more concerned. No, forget what I just said. I rounded that number down, and it was my goal to get to 1,100, which I did. And that score, 1,100, held as the 3rd highest. And by the way, I was in the 2nd round. Everyone in the 1st round busted out, so maybe I should have been a little more conservative. But nevertheless, I got to 1,100, which was 3rd highest. So I probably didn't need to shoot for such a high score. I think there were a few people with exactly 1,000. But yeah, there we go. The formula is you take the number of people in the tournament, you divide by the number of spots that will advance, you take the square root of that, and then you multiply that by your starting chips. And that gives you a goal that you should shoot for.
Fantastic. Always good to know. So we also had a comment in here saying someone had an idea for how you could get one of those license plates. You need to become Pope Michael. That's like the only way is you got to become Pope.
I would be happy to take the job. I don't think that they're going to offer it to me. Yeah, that's certainly an option. I'll keep that in mind.
We also had a comment about the pictures you were showing, and Caesar said, that was a celebrity cruise. I used to work there as the gentleman who run the blackjack tournament. So jealous of the people who got to meet the Wizard of Oz on board.
Well, thank you very much. So I gave the gentleman who ran that tournament, who I also saw around the casino many times. I think he was also the main host. I gave him a copy of my book. He wasn't familiar with me, but he was very happy to get it. And he made a comment like, I watched you play. I could tell you knew what you were doing. And by the way, the slot vulturing was great on this cruise. There was not another passenger, to the best of my knowledge, that knew anything about vulturing slots. So I made about $800 that way, jumping in on good slots. And yeah, so
nice.
But
well, that actually ties into the question Paul asked, where he said, can you travel around the country and take advantage of promotions in different like cruises or states or countries or anything like that?
Absolutely. There's a thread right now at Wizard of Vegas about some guy who I think he has been cruising for like 3 solid months, jumping from one cruise to another. And I believe he makes the claim that he has not paid for any of these cruises, and he supports it. He gets invited to everyone through his casino play. And I think that I think he makes the claim that he covers all expenses and then some by advantage play on the cruise ship. But I haven't paid too much attention to this thread. It is a good one. So I definitely think that cruise ships are a good place if you're an advantage player, and cruise ships can be pretty generous about comping players as long as they play at a certain level, which does not need to be terribly high. So, yeah, I'm not the best one to talk about this, but absolutely, there's a lot of advantage players that roam, that almost don't even have a home, that they just roam the world and going from place to place. And I think that they would say that you give me any casino and I will find ways to make money from it.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. If I were younger, I would do that.
How much? So do you think it would be a full-time job, or do you think it would be like a part-time job, like a couple days a week, maybe a couple hours, or do you think that's like a 7-day a week, 10-hour
No, I
day?
think that advantage players need to look at it as a job. And I think that they do put in, at least 40 hours a week. And, I'm sure it's more when they see a good opportunity. A lot of them really focus on poker. The poker in countries outside of North America is still pretty soft. And a lot of them can get by just playing poker.
Cool.
Yep. Okay. I want to get started on the Three's Company trivia.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, question number 1. What is the first line of the theme song?
So if you guys know the answer to that, put that in the chat. And while we were waiting for those answers, our next gambling question comes from Paul, who says, you have said that all systems are equally worthless. I agree regarding House Edge, but what about the value of fun factor, money management, or altering volatility?
Okay, that's a good point. You absolutely quoted me correctly, but I will say that if you find following a betting system fun, then just have at it. And if you are trying to achieve a certain goal, money management, a betting system can help achieve that. For example, if your goal is to either win a lot at the expense of probably losing a little, or the opposite, winning a little with the possibility of losing a lot, betting systems can help achieve that goal. And betting systems can also change the volatility. If you like volatility, then you probably should be using a betting system. But I dislike volatility, so that's why I don't. I'm a flat better. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There might be reasons to use a betting system, but they shouldn't be to cut the house advantage, because they do not achieve that.
And for players, or for people who don't understand what we're talking about when we say volatility would be like a low volatility is blackjack, where you win every other hand, and a high volatility is like a progressive jackpot that someone wins once every year.
Right. So let's say you have a player who likes blackjack, which is a fairly low volatility game, but they like volatility. Then they can put on a betting system. For example, they keep doubling up until they win a bet that's, say, 64 times the initial bet. That's going to introduce a lot of volatility to the game.
As long as it's for fun and not the martingale system to pay rent.
That's what I just said is the anti-martingale.
Yeah. Okay. So our next gambling question comes from Boxer Lover, who says, with skill, do you believe horse racing is beatable?
Horse racing is not my strongest area when it comes to gambling. I do know that with the win, place, and show bets, the takeout is 17%. And I think that it's really hard to beat that. Now, I think I'm allowed to say this, is that I used to be friends with a guy named Barry Meadow, who wrote a book on blackjack, and then he switched over to become an advantage player in horse racing. And he absolutely claimed that he was beating it. And I don't think I'm allowed to say what his angle is, not that I even know it very well. But I think that if you really, really, really studied the statistics hard, I'm not going to say maybe you would have an advantage, maybe you won't. And you would need to do a lot of betting just to be able to tease out all the randomness. And by the way, I do believe the cut at the Happy Valley racetrack in Hong Kong is only 10%. I do believe a lot of professional gamblers in horse racing do bet out of the tracks or that track at Hong Kong. Of course, that probably only attracts more sharp bettors. So that's about the best I can give you there. Just basically an I don't know.
Well, to add to that, in the 90s and early 2000s, the casinos used to play horse racing on a loop. And we had this one guy sit there for 24 hours and write down, like in his notebook, every single win. And when the loop started over, he started betting on every single one and he would win every single one. And they figured that out.
Where is this casino that was allowing betting on old horse races?
Okay, I'm putting it in the private chat because I don't want to say it out loud.
Okay.
Just to be on the safe side. I don't feel like being sued and all that. There you go.
Well, we should discuss this more after the show.
Okay, because I was there. I was a dealer when it happened, so I saw it happen.
I mean, I thought that you could only bet on live horse races.
Well, they changed it after that.
Well, it seems to me completely stupid that you would allow players to bet on a horse race that already happened in the past. Now, you might say that between like maybe 100 tracks in the U.S. and just thousands and thousands of races, nobody would recognize one. But I don't know. Anyway, I don't mean to. Yeah, I find the story very interesting. I think I'll look into it later.
Cool. I'll tell you all about it after the live stream.
Okay.
Okay. So the answer to the trivia question, is it come and knock on our door?
Yes, it is. Good job to Joey.
Ooh,
okay,
very
question
nice.
number 2. In what city does Three's Company take place?
Okay, so if you guys know the answer, put that in the chat. And our next gambling question comes from Caesar, who says, Michael, what is the reason of the blind bet in Ultimate Texas Hold'em? Why does it make sense to create it and not having only an anti-bet?
Okay, good question. They have to have the blind bet. The blind bet is a horrible bet for the player. The player only gets back like 40% from it. But the casino needed to take something away from the player, because the option to make these big raise bets on good hands is very powerful in the player's favor. So they had to do something, and basically mandating an awful bet, which in this case is the blind bet, is what they did. And so there's your answer. In the unlikely situation you ever see a game of Ultimate Texas Hold'em where they don't make you bet the blind bet, don't do it, and bet big, because you will have an enormous advantage. Not that ever that's happening.
Okay. Our next question is from Dulbrickson, and it's real quick. Did the original Star Trek have no rank insignia? Now, I don't know about the originals from the 1960s, but I know rank insignias, they do the pips. So I hope that helps. Do you know, Mike?
Nope.
Okay. Our next one comes from Robert. Hi, Michael. Hi, Heather. I appreciate all the advice you guys give in regards to how to play the carnival games. I have won 6 out of the last 7 times I've been there. And then his question continues. I've recently took your advice on offering a dealer to put a bet down for him as a tip. The gentleman sitting next to me became enraged and yelling at me, saying that I could not do that, and it was a conflict of interest. And he could deal in my favor. By the way, the dealer lost. Any opinions on this? And was the guy out of line?
He was absolutely out of line. I've seen people bet for the dealer thousands of times. I mean, that's probably the way players tip 90% of the time. And I mean, you know this even better than me. Heather used to be a dealer, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah, so 2 ways to tip the dealer. You can hand them the money or tip them, tip for them. The dealer has no control of the outcome of the hand. Like, they can't control it. So, if you tip them, in my experience, I usually lost those bets because they were tipping for me. So it's like, "Oh, yeah, of course, I would figure." But I can't change the hand as a dealer. I can't do anything to change the game to put there's no conflict of interest is what I'm trying to say. He can't deal in your favor. That's just not going to happen. So yeah,
Well,
the guy's completely out of line.
okay, I have to add that it has been known to happen where players were generous tippers and the dealer would deliberately cheat and give them good cards with kind of like a wink, like keep tipping me and I'll keep giving you good cards. And I have known people that have been in this situation before. So it is possible that there might be that kind of understanding, either spontaneously or planned in advance, and especially at a place where the dealers keep their own tips.
Yeah.
But in general, the dealers pool their tips, and cheating in casinos is definitely less than 1%.
Yeah. And typically when the dealers cheat, they're going to cheat with people they know, like a roommate or family members or friends or something like that. It's not going to be some random person,
Yep.
typically, who's giving them a tip, because why would they lose their license over that?
And by the way, I'm not suggesting that the casino itself would be in on this.
No,
But
casino would
just
be
a
so
rogue
upset.
dealer. Just a
Oh,
rogue dealer.
they if the casino knew, they would fire the dealer immediately.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with that.
as
So
the dealer too, I would get really upset when people would yell at other people for how to play their money. It's your money. You worked for the money. You could do whatever you want with that money. Like, that person has no right to yell at you about how you spend your money. It's yours.
you're absolutely right. Okay, enough about that question.
Okay, another question or the answer to the trivia.
Let's do the answer to the trivia.
Okay, sounds good. So is it Malibu?
No, it is not.
Okay.
Close though.
Ooh. And I don't see anything else.
No, what is the city one south of Malibu?
What is that?
That would be no other guesses? No, the
Don't see
answer
anything.
is Santa Monica.
Ah, Santa Monica.
Santa
Okay.
Monica is the first city. No, it was the second city I ever lived in. I was just a baby, so I don't remember it. But yes, Santa Monica, California. Okay, next
Cool.
question. What did Jack do for a living?
Okay, so if you guys know, put that in the chat. And our next gambling question comes from Source Keen, who says, "My casino is doing a blackjack promo where I could split and double down for free. They put up the chips for 5 hands. How should I alter my play for these hands?"
Just off the top of my head, I think you should double or split. I think you should split anything, and I think you should double on anything 11 or less. That is the strategy in free bet blackjack, where where you can double and split for free. So I would imagine it would be the same in this situation.
Cool.
But again, you said for 5 hands, so I assume that they mean, okay, starting 5 hands from now, you can do this, and if you don't do it, then you waste your opportunity. My answer would be different if you could use it any 5 hands you wanted to, in which case I would just say wait until the first 5 situations where you should double or split.
Good advice. I like that.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, and Baccarat Kingmaker is liking what he's saying so far too. He's saying wonderful.
Thank you.
And then Daniel says, "I have memorized your blackjack strategy. I am not yet proficient at counting cards, though. Would it be premature to play in my local casinos?"
I really don't recommend wasting your time learning how to count cards. But congratulations on memorizing the basic strategy. Few players get that far. But you say you're not yet proficient, which implies that you're already working on it. Yeah, I would suggest, what you could do is if you're eager to get started, you can count cards, but still always play by the basic strategy. Just use your count to affect your bet size. But I would not start altering how you play your hands um, until you memorize the index numbers. So that would be my advice there.
Yeah. And also when counting cards, do the one that's most easiest for you. Not there's so many different types, you know what I mean? And everyone's saying mine's the best, mine's the best, mine's the best.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
I think for most people, the simple plus minus is good enough.
mhm.
The knockout count is even simpler than that. My ace five count is even simpler than that. But if you really want to be a master card counter, you can do something that's really complicated, like the Omega 2 or whatever it's called. You get, but for probably 90% of counters, I would do the plus minus or something even easier.
Where would people find your strategy, your count?
I explain how to use the plus minus at Wizard of Odds.
Okay. And then they would just
Yeah, including the index numbers. The index numbers I got from Don Schlesinger with his opinion. It's one of the few things on my site that is not directly from me. But
oh
I
my God,
credit where credit is due when I do quote somebody else.
that's a thing. I thought everything on there was yours.
No, I would say 99% of it is. But
That's
this
still
is,
pretty.
yeah, this is a rare exception. I also quote James Grosjean in my 21 out strategy in Ultimate Texas Hold'em. And I also have a page on what's that game with the coin pushers? Anyway, I had somebody else write a page
I
about that.
love
Not
that.
that I've seen one of those in a long time.
Oh, you could still find them at GameWorks and other arcades. Pinball Hall of Fame, I think, might have one.
Okay, but I haven't seen one for real money in a casino in years.
Oh no, nope.
Nope. Okay, enough about that question.
Okay, so our next question is from Michael. Any chance of getting a multiple hand option other than splits on the blackjack training tool?
Any chance? Okay, so what I think he's asking is that at Wizard of Odds there is a blackjack trainer where I think there's one where you just play against basic strategy, and another one where you put in whatever count system you're using, and it will keep track of the count for you. But no, you can only play this one hand at a time. And no, there are frankly no plans to have a multi-hand option. The guy who made that is kind of reclusive, and I don't think that he would want to fuss with that.
Okay. And do you want to do the answer to the trivia question, or do you want to do another casino question?
Let's do the trivia. So I see some people put chef, which congratulations is the right answer.
Woo!
But let's do a
Awesome.
follow-up question. What is the name of the restaurant where he worked through most of the show?
Okay, if you know that, put the answer in the chat. It's a good thing that we did the question to the trivia first because you are not going to like this next question.
Give it to me anyway.
I'm kind of scared to ask. Okay, will the new book be available by Christmas?
I'm finally glad somebody asked this.
Oh, good. Okay.
Because as of just yesterday, the Kindle version of the third edition of my book is out. And and I don't want to say hardcover, the paperback version should be ready any day. It could be any day. It could be 2 weeks. I've learned a long time ago to take any estimates from Huntington Press with a grain of salt. But right before I went to Europe is when they sent the book to the publisher. It took them quite a while, like a month, to get the Kindle version out. But it's my understanding that the paperback version would not be not far behind it. So the chances of seeing the paperback version by Christmas are very, very good.
Woo! That's so exciting.
Yes. So finally I have an answer, or a decent answer to that question.
Awesome. And that's perfect for Christmas. So you could buy this as a gift for Christmas. So even as a gift for yourself.
Yeah, one nice thing about writing a book is, it's a great gift to give to people, and I can buy my own book at 50% off. So
Oh,
I
nice.
I have bought boxes of my previous editions, and they're come 100 in a box. So I've probably given away like 500 copies.
Oh, that's fantastic. I got one of your books too. Okay, sorry, I had to mention that.
Of course you do.
Okay, so our next gambling question is from Caesar, who says, for card counting, if playing 2 spots is mathematically better than playing 1, would it be even better to play 3 spots? Would that increase the EV and ROR?
Playing 2 spots is not mathematically better. It's the same. So yeah, if you're playing, unless you're a card counter and are depth charging, the house advantage is not affected by how many hands you play at a time.
Okay. Okay. Our next one is a fun one. Do you watch Penn and Teller's Fool Us show after the trick is complete? Do you understand how they prove that they know the trick, how the trick is done without giving out the secret?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. Another project I've been working on for a long time is I have constructed my own magic trick. I have
Ooh.
a prototype, and I'm just like almost done putting it together. Right now, it's basically a card trick, and I'm assembling the cards right now, but it's, shall we say, 99.9% done. And it'll be 100% done probably this evening. So I look forward to trying that out, and I would like very much to do it on Fool Us. I have, I'm worried it might be a little bit too simple for that show, but once in a while they do just have just like a simple trick by an amateur like me. So I do plan to, down the road, audition to be on the show. I want to do this trick on some regular people first to maybe make sure that I can do it really well before I officially audition. Okay, but your question was, after the trick is complete, do you understand how they prove that they know? Okay, so I've had discussions about this before, and when you watch the show, Penn and Teller use magicians' coded language to show when they explain. Sometimes they will just come out and say, "We know how you did it," and they might whisper it to him. But there's just no way to use. They don't want to explain it, to the whole audience because they don't want to ruin the trick. But other times they use coded language, which as a magician, I understand most of it. And probably I understand like how half the tricks are done on that show. But I can say that the show is very fair, that they make sure that Penn and Teller do not get to see any auditions or anything like that, that what they see is like, they have not, that they see it like totally cold. And I know that there are like tons of different camera angles and I feel quite certain that Penn and Teller are honest. It's possible that sometimes they say you fooled us when maybe they like understood half of how it was done. So I'm just kind of rambling here because basically I don't really know. But I do think that if they say we know how you did it, I think that they have the courtesy off camera to explain it to the magician. And but then again, I saw a magic show here in Vegas by somebody, by a struggling magician who was on Fool Us, and I believe that his story was is the Penn and Teller said that they were not fooled, but he seems to think that they were partially fooled, that they understood basically like how it was partially done, but not completely. But I think that Penn and Teller only need to like get like the gist of how the trick was done without being able to like completely like be able to do it themselves. In fact, that's probably what would happen if I did my trick on their show. I don't think that they would like basically break this code that I use, but they would probably know that I was using a code. Um, but yeah, I think the next live stream, I'll try to do my magic trick for you guys.
Oh, that's awesome. I would love to see you on that show. That would be so much fun to see you on that show.
Yeah, thank you.
Did they record that at the Rio?
They do, yes.
Oh, nice. Oh, I gotta see you on there.
Yeah, I would love to. So we'll see.
Okay, so the answer to the trivia?
Oh yeah, so it was the name of the Jack's restaurant. Do we have any answers?
Do we have Jack's Bistro?
Nope. Okay,
Oh.
that's good, but I think the way I phrased it was what was the original restaurant that he worked for. So connoisseurs of the show know that at the beginning of the show, Jack was a struggling chef, and then he went into chef school to, I guess, improve his level. And then he opened towards the end of the show and into the spinoff, which I'll ask about in a minute. He had his own restaurant that was called Jack's Bistro. But through most of the show, he was a struggling chef at a restaurant called Angelino's.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So what do you think? Half credit for that one?
I would, okay, half credit. Okay, but that leads me into my next question. What were the two spin-offs of Three's Company?
Okay, so if you guys know the answer, put that in the chat. We have a sort of like a trivia right here. Del Brexon says that in the original Star Trek, the uniform had their rank on their sleeves. So the lines that they had on their sleeves indicated the rank.
I did not know that.
Nope, me neither.
Oh, no. It's hard to stump Heather on Star Trek.
I don't know everything. I just enjoy it. Okay, so our next gambling question comes from, let's see here. Let's do Robert. Robert says, ever since I've been using your system, no sucker bets, I have outlasted people at the table, watching them rip out hundreds of dollars from their wallets. And then they tell me that I am playing wrong. What should I say to them?
I would say something like, if I'm playing wrong, how come I'm not reaching into my wallet, pulling out $100 bills every 5 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah. And you can also say to them, you know, it's not your money, it's my money. You can do whatever I want with it.
That's you can say that. It's not what I would say. You know, when people accuse me of playing incorrectly, which often happens in games like Spanish 21, I will say that I am playing the correct way. And this is not blackjack. And this game calls for a different strategy than blackjack. And, you know, I don't throw around like who I am, but I will not concede that I make any mistakes. So, you know, I will just tell them truthfully that you are the one playing wrong, and they won't believe me, to which I don't really care.
So I know normally you don't say, like, you don't go around telling people who you are. That's just not who you are. Have you ever in your life been in a situation where you did mention, you know, hey, I actually do know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't like tooting my own horn. But if somebody recognizes me, I'm happy to acknowledge it. And when I play Paigo tiles, I'm recognized by other players a lot. And lots of times they will have my strategy card in their back pocket, which I'm always happy to autograph.
Can you go in a Las Vegas casino without being recognized?
No, oh yeah, most of the time I'm not. And I'm sure most
Wow.
people that if they did recognize me would probably, you know, not bother me. But no, I'm happy to meet my fans and pose for pictures, stuff like that. And like at G2E, I get recognized right and left, and I'm always happy to meet fans.
Awesome. Um, Another question that I have, do you ever do meet and greets with your fans? Do you ever do like events where I know you do the dinner after G2E where you do that with your fans.
Yeah, I didn't do that this year.
Huh.
So, I used to try, when I started Wizard of Vegas, I tried to organize like monthly fan events. But then it turned out to be more like a 2 or 3 times a year type of thing. But now it's not even that. Um, I do get individuals writing to me a lot asking to meet me, to which I usually say that I explain that I live way out on the west side of Las Vegas, but um, if they wanted to meet me for a coffee, I probably would. But
Awesome.
yeah, um, I don't travel all the way to the strip just to.
You're a local.
I,
You avoid the strip.
yeah.
Okay, our next question comes from Justin. Is playing an electric table game better to play for odds than a normal table game?
The odds are the same given the same rules.
Hmm.
So yeah, and in most cases they are the same rules. So yeah, the odds are the same.
Okay, sounds good. And it looks like that might have been the last question for the day. We're just going through the last of these comments right here. Um, don't tell losing players what they are doing wrong. If it benefits you, if your goal is to win, just tell them I am lucky. And that's from Mo the Cat.
Well, okay. I mean, everyone can do what they want. I never give unsolicited advice at the table, but I'm happy to give advice if it is solicited. So if I see players just playing horribly, I just say nothing. I just mind my own business. And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Okay. We have one more. Cool Bananas says, hi, most variable state slot machines reset at a positive state on a hard reset. Why do developers do this? Is it required by law?
I'm sworn to some secrecy about this topic.
Ooh.
I don't know exactly what I'm allowed to say, but I'm just going to err on the side of not saying anything at all. Other
That's
than
smart.
other than it's a valid question. That's all I can say.
Okay.
So sorry, I
We'll
can't
try to
answer that one.
We'll try to get one more question in before the end of this. An ultimate Texas Hold'em question. Are there optimal ratios for the various bet buttons?
You should bet only the ante and the blind, and of course make the raise when appropriate, but don't make any of the side bets if that's what you're asking. And this applies to every game. Like I often get asked, in what ratio should I bet the ante in the pair plus and 3-card poker? You should bet 100% on the better bet and 0% on everything else. So yeah, in every game, yeah, just make the base bet and avoid all the optional side bets.
Okay. And then did you hear that Disney is now involved in gambling?
How so? Other than maybe on the cruise ships.
Sports betting. They're getting into sports betting with ESPN.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
So given that I didn't know, I don't have any good comments about it.
Okay. And it looks like we are all out of questions. We went through everything.
Okay, great. So yeah, I know I didn't have too much time for questions this show, so I tried to speak quickly this time. But thank you everyone for your questions. Why don't we talk about the next live stream? So this, by the way, is live stream number 99. So next will be our 100th anniversary show.
So exciting.
So I do welcome any like tough or special questions, anything that's kind of something that Barbara Walters might have asked. Feel free to kind of probe me a little more deeply than usual. How can you get questions in? You could just ask them like you normally do, or you can post comments. As these live streams end up on YouTube, and I allow people to leave comments. And to be honest, I'm often pretty bad about reading them, but I will try to read the comments for this video to see if there's any questions for our next one, the big number 100. You can also reach me easily through Wizard of Vegas by sending me a private message. Okay, so today is October the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
How about November 16th?
No, that's my birthday.
Oh, well, I knew, you're not going to believe me, but I was thinking in my head, I know that's somebody's birthday.
I don't know, keep it clear and do something. Keep my schedule
So
clear and do something.
The next Thursday is Thanksgiving, but I don't see why I can't do it on Thanksgiving.
No, don't do it on Thanksgiving. I'll do it on my birthday. I don't want you to have to do, because your family needs you for Thanksgiving.
But we do it at 3:00, and so it's not like I'm missing the middle of Thanksgiving dinner to do it.
Can we do it the
However,
9th?
people on the East Coast might be inconvenient for them because this would start at 6:00 on the East Coast.
How about the 9th?
I'm afraid I'm going to be hiking across Catalina that day.
Oh, that's so much fun. I hope you have a great
I've done that
time.
before. I'm doing the Trans-Catalina Trail a second time. Well, so it looks like we have to go all the way to keep it on a Thursday to November 30th.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. So you guys will hopefully join us the next time on November 30th at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Jim said something really nice. He said, I will finally be 21.
Yep.
Really
you don't look a
appreciate
day
that.
over 21 either.
Oh, I appreciate that. Should I say my real age? I don't know.
Up to you. I'm 58.
I'm 42. It's fun getting old. I woke up this morning and I'm like, oh, I slept wrong.
Well, growing old is better than the alternative.
Yes, 100%. And it's fun to make fun of. I don't know. So Joey says you both age very well. Yeah, you don't look like you're in your 50s.
Well, I'd like to think I'd look maybe in my early 50s, but I don't know. I don't really care. All right. Well, thanks again, audience, for participating and all your questions. And I had a lot more Three's Company trivia I didn't have time for, but my newsletter next week will have that. And thanks, Heather, as always, for for being my co-host.
It's always my pleasure. I have so much fun with these. And if someone wanted to join your newsletter, how would they go about doing that?
You just go to wizardofodds.com, and you might even get bothered to sign up for the newsletter. But I think there's a pop-up, but once you do sign up for it, it won't bother you anymore. But if you don't see that, just scroll to the bottom, and there is a call-out box that says like subscribe for updates, something like that. And That's how you can get it delivered to your email. And you can also just read the old newsletters right there, in case you don't want to be bothered with, you know, um, getting it by email.
And if they want more of you, you also have a forum too, right?
Yep, yep. You can. The whole forum at Wizard of Vegas. I'm pretty active there.
Yay. Well, I guess we'll see you after Thanksgiving.
Yep. So you have a well. I'm sure I'll talk to you,
Yeah.
yeah, you have a good birthday and Thanksgiving, and we'll
Thanks.
see you on November 30th.
Have a good Thanksgiving. Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
I'm
Bye,
so jealous
everybody.
of
Bye,
you.
Heather.
I can't do that. So jealous. Bye.